People always overestimate what they can do in a short period of time, and they underestimate what they can do in a long period of time.
Right.
I think the reality is we're all racing for the next hurdle. You race to get out of grade 6 to get into the middle school. You race to get out of grade 8 to be in high school. Then you race to be able to drive. Then you race to be going to university and getting your own place and being on your own. And all along the way, you're missing everything that is so magical. Talk to an adult about, they remember the time being on the playground. That was a freaking fun time, playing baseball, whatever. All those times were a blast. And yet you're too busy looking forward to getting a car and dating and this and that. It's just silliness. We all just have to slow down and enjoy what's in front of us, and more will come. So I think that's what I really want to impart. I really want to impart that on my daughter, is just enjoy it. Enjoy it. It's fast. It's quick. It all goes by too fast.
And welcome to another installment of Behind Greatness by Inspire. It's Luciano as your host, speaking as usual. Of course, want to take this time to request the listener to please subscribe if you are not a subscriber already, and please do share with your family and friends. We also are a non-for-profit. Inspire is our parent. And if you go to our website, behindgreatness.org, you can see where you can donate to the cause. As our regular listener knows, we've had guests from around the world, scientists, artists, Olympians, entrepreneurs, and everything in between. And today we also have an entrepreneur. We love having entrepreneurs on the show because, not because, I'm not going to give you the reasons why. You're going to see the reasons why, or listen to the reasons why over the next little bit. So why don't I introduce him right now? His name is Douglas Robert Putman. He was born in 1984, although I don't know why we have your birth year, but we've just given it away, so it doesn't matter. He is a serial entrepreneur with a strong belief in the potential of brick and mortar retail as the industry comes through the challenging economic times of the pandemic. Putman is the owner and chief executive officer of the music retailer Sunrise Records, FYE for your entertainment, Alex Brands, HMV Retail Limited in the UK, the Granite Restaurant, Making Waves Marine, and the president of Everest Toys. In late 2020, Putman took over 45 shuttered David's Tea locations and transformed them into a new brand called Tea Kettle, with the goal to expand the concept further in Canada. He more recently purchased Toys R Us and Babies R Us Canada brands, with 81 stores in the country, and plans to expand that number. He lives in the Hamilton area with his family and his fishing rod. Doug, I put that in myself. Welcome to the program, sir.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No, thank you. So you came back into the light of our own discussions here internally when we read, it was a few months ago now, I forget now exactly when, in Report on Business magazine, which is in Canada, national magazine, published by the Globe and Mail. It's a national daily. And it reminded us of our desire to want you as a guest in one of our events back in the olden days when we were doing events. So we were very happy when you reached back to accept our invite. So again, double thank you.
No problem.
Doug, you did say something to me. Let's start off this way. You did say something to me the last chat that we had. And you said you like feeling and being anonymous, and that it's a nice thing for people to underestimate you.
For sure.
Why?
Well, to some extent, there's obviously a lot less pressure when you're someone's underestimating you because they don't expect you to do anything. I also think, and you know what? Look, sometimes it's good to not have so much pressure on you. But I think the other piece of that is it gives you a lot of ability to do different moves that no one would have expected. So I think being underestimated means that, whoever you're competing with has not come as prepared as they should have, which gives you an advantage. It gives you the ability to over prepare and be over ready for, whatever you're competing with. So I think that's just a stronger position to be in. And I mean, the better you do, the harder it's going to be for people to underestimate you over time. But it's a great way to start. And for me, it fuels for me. As soon as someone doesn't think I can do something, it makes me want to do it more.
You said something interesting there because but I share a similar philosophy where I share the same philosophy. I like being underestimated as well. I like to come in there as a surprise to people for some of the same reasons as you mentioned. But I think, and this is what you said there made me understand also why, because, and I'm sure this is the same for you, you tell me, preparation. You probably, because I don't like doing it, you probably also don't like underestimating anybody.
Never. I mean, I am the person who goes over the meeting I'm going to have a million times, imagining everything the person's going to say or could say in my every possible response. And I'll just sit there and I just go over it and over it. And I don't even mean to. It's just subconsciously I have the conversation. So I very rarely am ever shocked by what someone says to me in a meeting, coming back to whatever I've said, because it's usually one of the variations you've come up with.
Yeah, you said that. Let me tie it to something else you mentioned. You said your Achilles heel is you have to finish what you start, even if it's a bad movie. You have to finish
what it is. Yeah. Don't care what bad book, bad movie, whatever. I got to get through it.
You got to follow through. Also, something else we talked about. You said you have an inferiority complex.
For sure.
Let's delve. Go.
I actually, I said it to my wife. I said, I actually genuinely believe that to really do something great, you need something that drives you. And I think for a lot of people, it's an inferiority complex, but no one ever wants to admit it. No one wants to do it. I mean, I think everyone thinks it's a shameful thing, but for me, I always wanted to impress, my parents first and foremost. Number one thing, you want them to be proud of you. And for me, it's just always been that no matter what I've achieved, I've always felt like I haven't achieved much at all, that I've really done nothing, and I need to do an awful lot more before I can even partially consider myself, to be, good, to have done something. I think for my wife, and probably maybe for my parents too, it probably seems a bit crazy. And for friends, it sure does, because we'll talk about things. And I'm like, I really accomplished nothing. I've really accomplished nothing yet. There's still so much more. But I think that all just derives from, wanting to prove myself, wanting to be better, not feeling, quite good enough. And so I think you can take those feelings and you can put them towards good, or you can put them towards negative, bad, and go down a much darker spiral. I've always used it for the positive. That, I've got so much more I can accomplish.
So there might be some people who I could picture would roll their eyes to some of what you've just said, because, if they know your story, and you shared it with me as well, is that when you finally, I'm using my words here, hunkered down, you helped your parents build a business from 3 million to 100 million. So yeah. The eye rollers out there might say, okay, great. Yeah. You haven't accomplished anything. Yeah. Boo hoo. But tell me, what is it that is driving you to say that?
And you know what? It's not a boo hoo thing. This isn't me complaining. Like, having an inferiority complex doesn't mean that I don't feel good about myself. It just means that when I look at myself from a business lens of what I've done, our businesses do billions in sales. There's no doubt. I've got a great living. I've done really well. But you know what? If you want to compare it, well, let's compare it to somebody worth 150 billion. So I think the difference is I look at myself and I don't compare myself really to anyone, but if in a business sense, I do, because when you're looking at business, it's a really easy goalpost. Like, business comes down to what you've done. And so it's easy to look at a Warren Buffett. It's easy to look at, an Elon Musk, whoever, and say, okay, well, they're worth hundreds of billions. They've so far done better than me at business. So it's not meant to get an eye roll and boo-hoo, or it's just legit. I just don't feel like, in comparison to what's been accomplished in this world, that I've done anything. And even when I look at my businesses, great, I sell toys or I sell records, or, there's just lots of ways you can look at your life and say, what have I really accomplished? So what? I've sold a lot of toys. So what? I made some money, but what have you really accomplished? And that's where I think you can use the inferiority complex of not feeling good enough to drive yourself, to push yourself, to, no matter how good you think you are, to force it forward. And that's, again, me really talking in a business context, because in a personal complex, I've been a great husband. I've been a great father. I've been a good, child. So there's lots of other great things, but on business, I honestly always feel lucky when I'm talking to other businessmen who've done well, even if they haven't made as much money as me. I always appreciate their time. I feel lucky that I get it. I think that's probably really helped me in my business life.
This is also why you've always been a curiosity to me. Well, not always. I shouldn't say always. Since I understood your story through what I read, which isn't much, because you're a very private guy. So this is why it's kind of special that we're talking, I think, at least for me. You can decide your, you said you're selling toys, you're selling records, and you were playing it down, but after spending a little bit of time with you, not a lot, but a little bit of time with you, I see that there's somebody who wants to have and find fun. And it can't be an accident that you are in the business of toys and you're in the business of musical experience, because you're not actually selling, Sunrise HMV is not just selling music. You're selling an experience around the emotional experience of music that people like. That's, in my opinion, that's pretty noble.
Look, ultimately, I started in a pretty fun business in toys, and an exciting business. I always liked that every year it changed, right? What was hot this year, kids throw out in 2 months, and I like that hustle of always trying to find something new. And then you get into, the music business and records, and it's a very cool, hip business. And I am certainly not very cool or very hip. So I don't quite fit in the same way as a lot of the record executives and a lot of the people in the music business who, when you meet them, they're very hip. They're very cool. They've got this thing about them that you just, I don't know. I always just had an attraction to them. I had attraction to their personality. My wife's in the art, and I think that was just one of the things for me is I'm super attracted to people that are artistic, because they chose such a different path from me. And it's a path that I wouldn't have been great at. I'm not very artistic. I have very little, if any, artistic ability, but there's something about that path that's just so sexy to me. I just love it. I love someone who just goes for it. And in most cases, you're not going to make a lot of money, make, very little money, but it's about a passion. It's about a love. And so I got very attracted to that business. And now, I typically don't invest in anything that I don't think I'm not going to do a business that doesn't have some value to me. It's got to add benefit to my life. Everyone should be doing that, right? If the business you're doing you hate, or the job you're doing you hate, why do it? Get out. Do something else. Find something else.
This is why I have to gently push back a bit, because you may not consider yourself artistic, and maybe part of that industry traditionally, at least by your definition. But this is why I like speaking to entrepreneurs. You are creating. Like an artist creates something out of nothing. You are creating, and permit me to say this, if as an entrepreneur, you're creating a bridge between the actual vocational artist and that person who may not be.
Yeah. And look, I see where you're going with it. I look at arts as so like dance, actually painting, being creative, like,
Sure.
being a podcaster, right? All these things to me are way more artistic than what I do. And again, maybe that just comes down to me downplaying everything I do, because that's just my personality. But, it's funny, even just looking at Toys R Us, I never in my wildest dreams thought I'd be able to buy a company like Toys R Us.
Mm-hmm.
$1 billion business. It's a great business. And I just never would have thought that would ever happen. And now that I own it, I downplay owning it to anyone who asks about it. So maybe that's just really once it's mine, I'm going to downplay it. When it's someone else's, I'm like, wow, this guy girl does this. Like, I'm just enamored with what other people are doing because I do everything and I can't. But you bring me someone who's great at ballet and I'm like, wow, that's amazing. Like, how did you ever, do that? How much effort, how much work? Like, I'm just fascinated by it.
That kind of attitude kind of flies in the face of the look at me generation that we live in right now. It directly flies in the face of it. Like it's like you're the only guy on that side of the swimming pool today. But
that's okay. Like, I don't, I'd rather be on the other side anyway. I'd rather buy businesses that people don't think have a lot of value. Like when I bought Sunrise, I'm good with that. I mean, I used to say to my wife, when you buy a business that no one wants, there's zero pressure because if it doesn't work, everyone was like, well, he was an idiot to buy it anyway. Of course it didn't work.
Yes.
Okay, it works. Like, there's your benefit. It just works. So like, I always found that there'd be so much pressure in buying these businesses for huge, huge multiples and just feeling the pressure to pay that back. Like, I don't know. It always felt a little different to me when you heard about these mega purchases and you're like, geez, how is this guy ever going to pay this back? It's going to take him 20 years, all the pressure. And it's just a different viewpoint.
Well, so yeah, I mean, for the listener's sake, they need to understand that you've purchased these businesses, you've built these businesses all from scratch without any outside investors. So this is you and your family working on these businesses directly. But you also, so I want for the listener to understand that, like, point blank, that this is what we're talking about.
Everything's our own money. We don't have any outside investors. We own 100% of everything we've got. Whenever we buy something, it's our money going in.
I asked you last time where you think you need to be. I don't know. It's just like kind of a business question that just is one of those business questions that just kind of floats in the lagoon of the old business world that or the business academic world that I lived in many years ago. But you said you think you need to accomplish more before you share your story. So not to beat the dead horse, but it seems like let me ask you this way. I think that you always need to be, this is my hunch. So I feel, not I think, because I don't know you well enough to say I think. I feel that you need to always be in a state of creating something.
Yes, 100%.
Why?
It's a great question. It's a question my wife asks me all the time. Why do you need another business? Why do you need to do this other thing? And I just do. It's an innate thing that once I've got a business, let's say fixed, or it's in a good spot, it's got the right team, I just can't sit there and do nothing. Like I need to go on to the next thing. I want to fix another business. Like we've got over 20,000 employees. I love that. I love having employees. I love having people that I'm important to. I was reading a book. It was about Solomon and it was just one of the bankers. And he said, you can sell your business and you can get 100 million. And I'll use that example. It's a lot of money. 100 million is a lot of money. But after you sell your business, you're just another asshole with $100 million. Own your business. you're important to everyone in there. You're important to their families. You're important to their kids' university. You're important to all these things. There's something nice about being important to all these people. And honestly, we've had so many opportunities. I shouldn't say so many. We've had opportunities in the past to sell. In general, most people don't approach us to buy. But when they have, and the offers have been really good, it ultimately always comes down to one thing. I'd rather have the business than the money. That's how simple it is. And so that's why I've never sold anything and probably never will, because the business, what it is worth more to me than the check. So I don't know. There's probably something in that. And there's something that I'm a collector. At my heart of hearts, I'm a collector. I like collecting sports cards when I was a kid. I like collecting art and watches now. I like to collect businesses. I just enjoy that. That's something in me that I always want to collect.
You mentioned your 3-year-old and that you look at her because she reminds you that when she looks at everything, she sees everything as magical. And you said, we forget this as adults. If you can't have fun while you're doing it, I mean, you said this before as well at the beginning of the conversation, like your 3-year-old has fun when she's exploring, why the hell do it? So I kind of get that. Then why is fishing important to you?
You know what? Fishing's my release. It's my time to be on a boat, whether it's with my dad or whoever. It doesn't really matter, but it's just time on the water. It helps me regenerate. Because although I'll tell you, I really believe I don't work hard enough. I don't do enough. Like that's just, again, my personality is to believe that I could have always accomplished more. I should have pushed harder. I could have worked more, but it's just my time to be on that water and just recharge the batteries, get a new frame of mind and remind myself that the more businesses you own, the more problems you're going to have. It's just how it is. And it just reminds me that the problems are really not that bad. Life is really, really great. And just enjoy it. Like enjoy it, because everyone always says it, right? What's it all really for? And blah, blah, blah. Like those are just those big discussions that everyone has with themselves. And so I just think being up north for me and fishing is just one of those things that it's somewhat mindless, which is nice. But I think if I didn't take the time and do that, I actually don't think I'd be as successful. I think I would have lost something along the way.
Yeah. What's it all for? You hear that 1,000 times, 1,000 times over. It gets old. I think what it's all for is just the state of creation. I think that's what it is. It's never like, this is why we always get let down when there is an end to something, whether it's a good end or a bad end, just let down.
And look, you always build, you got this expectation, you build it, and then it comes to fruition. You're like, it wasn't quite as good as I thought it was going to be. It's your lunch bag. It is what it is. But yeah, I just try and make sure that I just take that time. I try and make sure that I'm not working, that I'm spending my time with doing things or with people that recharge my battery. And I have very few friends, almost no friends. I was very popular through high school, and after high school, I just wasn't. Part of it was I didn't have time. Part of it was I don't want to spend time with anyone or on anything that doesn't have, intrinsic value to me. And I think if you looked at my network of friends, it's really strange. None of them super successful. Like none of them are rich. They're regular people. That's who I just choose. And almost all of them are more artistically leaning, I would say.
It's always what you're looking for.
That's what I crave. It's what I love talking to my, vinyl buyer because he's just so into music. So I just love his passion for it. And he can name every on the back album of this. I'm not there. I'm impressed. It's cool. It's great. And so each person has a really valuable piece for me. But, I have one best friend that I grew up with. I have my father, who's my best friend. I've got my wife.
That's awesome.
Fishing buddy. That's it. Like that's everyone else is business. and there's a business friendship there, but it business, you don't have the friendship.
So I have two things. I'm going to share with you a very quick story. I was in LA with the family back in the winter. There's 4 of us, and we spent 3-4 days in LA. And there are 2 things the kids. So my kids are teenagers, older teenagers. Two things that the kids came away with that they enjoyed the most. Number 1 was the desert. So we went to Joshua Tree. So nothing to do with LA, okay? Or Hollywood or any of that. The second thing was Amoeba, which is the largest vinyl store, largest music store in California, I think. I don't know. They went there 3 times. They couldn't get enough. That's what they took away from that experience. But going back then to, because you mentioned high school, and going back to school, I'm just thinking as you were talking there, maybe it is the school system that we've built here in a Western country that has had us misunderstand grossly what we should be looking forward to as we grow, as we learn, not the ends. So not the final marks of something, not the exam, not the test, not the not beating out your classmates with your final marks, but it is in the joy. It should be in the joy of learning or attaining new knowledge.
100%. I mean, that's what it really, look, at the end of the day, I understand the mark is the scorecard, no different than, money is how you would define by most people's standards, how successful a company was or wasn't. But
sure,
the real it really should be in the learning. The real fun of the business is being in it. The fun of school should be that, but it's not. Everything is a means to an end.
You decided university you weren't going to have any part in it, and you said something too, because you came from a middle class family that valued university and used something strong. So let's talk about it too. But you think this is bullshit.
Yeah.
And you said truthfully you would treat university differently now. Let's talk about that. Expand on your thoughts.
So, as much as I think higher education is bullshit, I say it's bullshit, not in that you can't learn, you don't need it. I say it's bullshit more in that there's this idea that if you don't go to university, you're dumb. If you don't do this, you're successful. You need, everyone has these building blocks. You got to graduate, then you got to go to university, you get your degree, you come in, you do this. It's bullshit. You don't have to do that. You can do it. And if you like it, that's awesome for you. Like, hats off. But I don't think that's the be all end all. I went for 1 year. I didn't do well. I don't, hide that. I flunked out. I didn't go to class. I was not really that interested. It just wasn't a path for me, but it was because my parents were, again, middle class. My dad was a steel worker for 17 years, bank teller. To them, higher education was something very special and something you strive for and, something hard to get, which it is hard to get, but it wasn't for me. I think if you go back to looking at what you said about university today and how I would view it differently if I went back, I would view it more the way you were talking about, not going to university to get the degree, but going just to get knowledge. I would take courses that truly had interest to me. I don't know that I would still want to do the assignments or hand in the tests, but I'd like to do the reading. I'd like to gain the knowledge. I don't know. Again, I wouldn't want to be tested on the knowledge, but I just think that there's value in university, but I think we got to get away from telling our kids that if you go to college and you become a trade, that's a negative thing. Are you crazy? Every trade I know makes 6 figures. And most of the people I know who got their university degree are not making 6 figures. So I don't get it. Like, great. I'm all for English. I'm all for business. I'm all for all these degrees. They're all great, but it doesn't equal anything. It doesn't mean you're going to be successful. Like, I want to teach my daughter hard work. I want to teach her to learn to get along with all different personalities. Because you know what? If you want to be successful, you don't need to be an A student. You can be a D student, but you better be likable. You better know how to get along with people Because if you can't figure that piece out, getting along with the jerk and getting along with the nice person, if you can't figure that out, you're never going to do well in what I'll call real world. That's what's important. So, be a good person, learn how to work with other people, follow something that you're passionate about and you like, and it'll work out. Like, it may take time, but it will work out. And you don't need to figure out your life at 30. You don't need to figure out your life at 20. Like, you do have time. There's a lot of time between today and you're 80. I think I always loved that quote where the guy basically said, people always overestimate what they can do in a short period of time, and they underestimate what they can do in a long period of time.
Right.
I think the reality of it is we're all racing for the next hurdle. You race to get out of grade 6 to get into the middle school. You race to get out of grade 8 to be in high school. Then you race to be able to drive. Then you race to be going to university and getting your own place and being on your own. And all along the way, you're missing everything that is so magical. Talk to an adult about, they remember the time being on the playground. That was a freaking fun time, playing baseball, whatever. All those times were a blast. And yet you're too busy looking forward to getting a car and dating and this and that. It's just silliness. We all just have to slow down and enjoy what's in front of us, and more will come. So I think that's what I really want to impart. I really want to impart that on my daughter, is just enjoy it. Enjoy it. It's fast. It's quick. It all goes by too fast.
Well, I completely agree. I can't see the listener disagreeing with you. You said something about getting along with people. You mentioned the coin flip. Remember what you told me?
I do.
Yeah, go for it.
I always basically said that I always wanted to make sure, and back when I started at Everest, the toy company, I was selling buyers, Walmart buyers, Toys R Us buyers. And I always said the way you knew you had a good relationship with a buyer is if when there was a coin flip, you always won. And by a coin flip, there's thousands of different products. A buyer sees them every day. And in a lot of cases, two products are very similar. They'll probably sell a similar amount. The vendor's making the same margin. Everything's very similar. So why do they pick you or me? That's the coin flip. And you need to figure out what's important to that buyer to get them to give you the coin flip. And it's not giving the better price. That's not it, because we're saying it's a coin flip, which means the best price has already been negotiated with both vendors. And I think that's what a lot of life is getting people to like you and to get them to want to do things for you. And this is something you have to be genuine about. We can all see through when people are fake. Something is just off in our stomachs. We meet people and we're like, something seems off about them. Almost every time that is that they're fake. They weren't being their genuine self. They were hiding something about themselves. So you've got to figure out how you can be genuine and also win those coin flips and get what you really need. And then they're getting what they need. And so I think in a lot of cases, I've done really well because someone's like, I liked that guy. Okay, I'll do that for him. Or with some of the older people I've worked with, I kind of see myself in you. Those are really nice things to hear. And those have huge value that you just don't really think about at the time.
Yeah. So you use the word genuine. I'm going to latch onto that word because in order to show that you are genuine in the relationships that you're building, you have to be on board with a long-term type of thinking. Because if you're just like in school, if you are committed to the transaction of doing an essay, the transaction of studying for a test, the transaction of studying for an exam, the transaction of making sure you do this so that your group can get a good mark, then it's seen on the other side as that. It's not seen as doubling down on thinking years ahead, never mind month, years ahead. It's unfortunate we come out of the school system, to use your word, rushing, like we're rushing to the next goalpost or to the next milestone, rushing. I find that as well in my own business. I need to get along with the person I'm going to be transacting with. And I need for them to get along with me as well, because not just a coin flip, because that's why I asked you to repeat that, because it's a wonderful piece of advice. I hope my kids will listen to this. But it's also again, to use your words earlier, there are always going to be problems in business, in life. I mean, it's just a reflection of it. There are always going to be issues and problems. So tempers are going to flare. There's always going to be a mistake made. But if the person knows that you're in it and you're in it deep for the long term, they know that you're there hoping and looking to make and find a solution.
I think that's 100% right. That's exactly what it is. So I think it's a really important piece of everything in life. If you can't get along with people, you can blame everyone else. At some point, you got to look in the mirror and say, okay, like, what's wrong with me too here?
You hate the word no.
Hate it. Yeah.
But and you learned this early.
Like a 3-year-old with the word no.
So rejection is something you thrive on.
Like, if you look back when we were a $3 million business and I was coming into the business, we heard no a lot, all the time. You're too small. You don't have enough money. You're not this. You're not that. All those no's are for me just saying no right now. I never really heard no forever. I mean, I told you when we first talked, my wife said no to me the first time I asked her out. My life is filled with no's. If you can't handle rejection and no's, good luck. Because I don't know anyone who hears all yeses. And if you're okay with no, I think it's going to be a struggle as well, because what you need to hear is not right now. And when I hear not right now, I also hear I haven't done a good enough job explaining to you why it should be yes. If you're saying no to something that I think is a yes, I've done something wrong. I need to figure that piece out. My mom will tell you I hate the word no, and I don't like it at all. I want to get to yes, and I'll keep pushing and figuring out a way until I get the yes.
So speaking of your mom and your dad, for that matter, when you were trying to figure things out, you were also on the move. So as a teenager, I'm just going to go through it so you started a landscaping business at 15, berry picking business as well, and retail stalls. If you want to talk about that, we can do that too. I just wanted to mention that when you start to work with your parents, your mom told you, and it seems like your mom was your rock in this sense. She told you that she was there to hire you, to help you, but not to support you, and that you were being paid minimum wage. And it worked out for you, because I think it seems like that's where you started to understand that rejection was a motivator for you, for exactly the same reasons as for the reasons that you just outlined in the last 2 minutes. You said your dad is like a pie in the sky type of guy, that he likes to explore and go. And then your mom is a realist at keeping you and your dad in check. But you said something. You said you needed this in your life. Why? So if your dad, you said your dad's your best friend, your dad's pie in the sky, and you guys are alike. You're not like your mom. Why do you need somebody like her and I don't mean your mom, but somebody like that in your life?
I think you need people who bring you back to reality. If every deal you look at, I'm very positive. I look at most things in a very positive light. That's just my personality. Anyone who knows me really well is like, he's always thinking things are pretty good. And so I think sometimes you need someone to bring you back to reality, especially when it comes to investing money and saying like, hey, have you thought about this? Thought about that? Have you thought about this? I also think it's important because if you don't have someone who brings you back to earth, your head gets huge and you start thinking you're really a lot better than you are. And so I've, not that my mom didn't support me, she supported me more than anyone, but I think she was always there just to remind me like, hey, you've done okay so far, but that doesn't mean you're going to do better tomorrow, or then come back down to earth. And I think that's probably, for me, that's something I definitely always needed, was someone just to bring me back to reality. And even if I may never admit it to her, some of the questions she asked make me really rethink the business model or what I was thinking. At the time, I may brush her off and be like, nah, you don't know what you're talking about. I got it. It's fine. That night I'm like, shit, I wonder, and it just gets your mind going.
I guess it's a sort of a minor rejection, but one, right?
criticizing something, I'm hearing no.
Yeah.
And, and I'm hearing, this isn't going to work. You can't. A lot of times what I hear is you're not able to do this. Not necessarily you're not good enough to do it, but that's what I'm telling myself. You're not capable. You're not good enough to do it. And so that's where, again, you're going through the whole conversation again. You're going through ways to figure it out. You try and figure out creative ways to do things. I mean, obviously we didn't have a ton of money when we started. So like when you don't have a lot of money, you better be very creative. One of the business guys I know, he always used to say, resourcefulness is more important than resources. And I always loved that, because it's amazing what you can do if you try and structure a deal in different ways. You maybe try and find the owner to hold a mortgage, or you do this, you do all these things when you don't have a lot of money, to just try and figure out how to get the deal across the line. It obviously becomes easier when you have money and you can just buy it. But, that takes a long, long time to get to the point where you can just do a deal and the money is secondary almost. There's most of the time money is the limiting factor. So you need to figure out ways to become resourceful.
You almost died when you were 21. What happened?
I had myocarditis, just a virus, and I was in intensive care for a couple of weeks. And, I luckily came out of it. I mean, while I was there, night there and said, would you like me to get you the priest? And I was like, priest? Like, one, I'm not religious, but two, why do I need a priest? Like, well, I don't think you're going to make it through the night. And this is another one. Everyone always cries because I felt good. She said it. I was like, okay, I'm good. I've done what I needed to do in life. I feel good. I just felt like I was in an okay place. It was okay. Did I want to die? Of course not. I wanted to spend more time with my dad. I wanted to have a wife. I wanted to have kids. But ultimately at that moment, you realize you have no say on this. This isn't about what you want. And you can either reflect back and be pretty happy in the end with what you've done or not. And so, you can see that there's a bit of a rub here, because on the one hand, I'm saying to you today, I haven't really accomplished anything. Mm-hmm. On the other 21, I'm saying I'm okay with dying. I got no complaints. And even today, when I think about it, yeah, it'd be horrible for my parents. It would be tragic for my daughter and my wife and my family if I passed away tomorrow. But overall, I would want them all to realize, like, I had a great life. I lived it to the most. I don't regret anything. It's been a blast. And so that's probably where my positive outlook of looking at time is something that you're just lucky at. You live to 80, that's super lucky, like awesome. I think that's how you have to look at it. Whether you live to 30 or 40 or 50, what did you do with those years? And I don't know. I just always had this outlook where I would rather try and do anything. Didn't matter what it was, and fail. Because to me, I can live with failure. I can't live with regret. Regret is just not something I will ever live with. I refuse to have it. So, if I were out somewhere and there was a girl that interested me, I was okay with asking her out. It's okay. Like, if she wasn't interested at that moment, again, I always felt like, well, maybe later on it'll work. I always had a positive spin on it. So that's just my outlook on it.
Just to go back to that, I guess to the rejection things, my last comment on that, it's the more rejection you live through, you can choose to make you resilient rather than despondent. Because if you choose the former, then you can accomplish anything. You know what? And I use the word accomplish. Actually, again, I don't know if I agree with using the word accomplish, because accomplish is too school system tied for me. Like, what does accomplish mean? It means we're always in a state of creation. We're always creating. As long as we're always creating, I think is what we need to focus on.
If you try and take everything as a positive, as a learning experience, and again, not learning school wise, but just learning, then you didn't really have a negative, right? You've learned something through spending a dinner with someone or whatever it is. Like I just always try and find the positive of what I've done. And I've been good at just not dwelling on whatever that negative piece is.
A couple more questions. where do you believe you exist after your body dies?
I believe you're in the ground, right? And you're back to the earth. I think that you just become part of the earth. So, your spirit doesn't go anywhere. That is the end. It's over.
It's not the end. I don't believe that you believe it's the end because you don't like endings.
I don't like endings. No one likes endings, really. Everyone wants it to go on. And I think I wish I believed in all these, whether it's a higher power, whether it's reincarnation. I wish I believed in it because it's a really nice thought. It's an awesome thought. But it just doesn't make sense to me, like fish die, deer die, birds die, every animal dies. And then that's it. And it's sad, and it's sad for the people around. I mean, death is always harder on the living, obviously, but that's it. And I'm okay with that. Like, I like the idea we just go back to the earth. That's like, I'm okay with that. That's good. It should make you appreciate whatever you've got. Mm-hmm. Knowing there's an end should make you appreciate what's going on even more than if you believe in a heaven or hell or infinity or whatever, reincarnation means you keep getting more and more shots at it. So even if you blow this one, well, you got the next one. You don't. If I believe I've only got this one, make the most of this one. Every minute, every day. Doesn't mean you can't be depressed sometimes. Doesn't mean you can't be sad sometimes. Doesn't mean you can't be angry. Those are all great emotions. These are important things. But overall, at the end of the day, don't get too down on your luck. Look at yourself and look at the positives you have in your life. We all have something to be thankful for.
Yeah, I'm with you on that sentiment. Using the life that you have to feel grateful, but then also pursue on the fact that this is my take. I think we all owe it to ourselves individually to pursue, if we are grateful, to pursue why we're even here in the state of that grace. And I'm not talking religiously here at all. I mean, I'm always very, very curious about these things. But anyway, the last question, because I see the time here. What is greatness to you?
Greatness is you achieving whatever it is you're passionate about. And I think for everyone, it's different, and it can be many things. I can be worth 100 billion when I die. My daughter doesn't love me, doesn't want to spend time with me, doesn't look up to me. I'm a nobody, an absolute nobody. And I think I was watching an interview of Alex Rodriguez. Alex, it was Tom Brady. Tom, who everyone looks up to, all these kids, who do you look up to? And he's like, my dad. And I thought about that. I look up to my dad. I want my kid to look up to me. Greatness is when you accomplish something special. And again, it's multifaceted. Would I feel personally like I achieved greatness if my kid absolutely loved me, adored me, and I failed at everything else in life? I'd like to tell you yes, but the answer would probably be no. So it's got to be one facet for me. If I was the greatest football player that ever lived and my kid doesn't love me, that's no good. And if my kid loved me, but I was never really good at, football, if that was my passion, I wouldn't feel really good. So for me personally, through family and whatever my passion is, and my passion is business. It is my passion. So I need to be successful in both fronts, but I try to tell people, get away from thinking you're successful because you're a millionaire or a billionaire or one day a trillionaire. That's not the metric to decide how successful you were at your business. You can have a small mom and pop restaurant, make 50, 70 grand a year. You have a living, a good living. Everyone in your restaurant loves you. Your staff love you. Your chef loves you. You have a great time serving your customers. You have regulars. It's cheers. There's your bar. It's cheers. It's great. Everyone knows your name. You're walking in. Norm, awesome. That right there is greatness. So I think that's where we have to, evolve and stop thinking about it as you're a billionaire, so you're great. Why? You could be an asshole. You got $1 billion, you're an asshole. Your kids hate you. You're on your third marriage. Is that greatness? I mean, maybe to someone. I wouldn't even want to be friends with someone who thought that was greatness. So I think that's the facets I look at.
Yeah, I think I think the meat of it is that you want others, including your daughter, and mostly your daughter, to be infected with your sense of fun and passion.
For sure.
That's important.
100% it is. Got it. Like that's what I always think. Just think about, what do you want for your kids? You want them to enjoy their life. That's really what you want. And whether that's being a school teacher, whether that's being an artist, whether that's being a billionaire running tons of companies, any three of those, anything, as long as she's loving it and appreciating it and enjoying her life, like that is awesome for me.
Doug, been a pleasure, man. Thank you for this.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's Enrico Colantoni here, actor, director, and dedicated napper. Like what you heard today, there's more to come. Make sure to subscribe to Behind Greatness and learn about our live events at inspirenorth.com. You'll also find links to our social media right on our website, so be sure to give us a like and follow. Until next time, stay inspired.